Hello, everyone. Just waiting for my pool, league to start. How's it going, Teach? How's it going, Elise? How you doing? It's going well. Interesting Sunday. If you have any questions about any body part, or if you just have questions about art in general, just feel free to ask it. Agreed, interesting about sums it up. Yep. Hi, how you doing? Can anyone help me? Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Get the fuck out of here with muting. Like begging. There you go. Cthulhu enters. How you doing, Mr. Cthulhu? How are you? So Cthulhu has he has multiple eyes, I guess. Blah, 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 blah. It's like Mr. Zoidberg, but meaner. I really don't know what Cthulhu looks like, but Treasure Planet vibes. Ooh, straw character from Treasure Planet. Let's see. So futuristic, alienish type of pirate. So let's say we have a character like this. We have a little pirate hat. And then he has to be an alien, but he has to have a cool anatomy too. So let's. And then he's a pirate, so he's probably seen some battles. Ahoy. How? What? How? Well, you use 2 circles for eye sockets. Then you use a little triangle in between to draw a little teardrop. And then the side of your head aligns with your cheekbone. So the side of your head just comes in right there. If you connect the top, you have all the makings of a face. So hello, Lou. How you doing, Mr. Lou? I'm practicing boxes and cylinders. Ooh, you want to know a cool trick to do with boxes? You want to learn a super cool trick to learn with a box? Oh my God, you're gonna love me. Okay, if you're practicing with boxes, right? You're probably getting used to this. You're drawing little cubes, and you're gonna draw cubes in space, right? So once you do that, color one of them so that you know what perspective it is in, right? If you draw it like that, it's gonna be from behind. If you draw a little cube and you color the top one, it's gonna look like it's above. So you can play with perspective like that. But the moment that you're gonna love me is when you just split it into 4. So that front face, split it into 4. The other side, draw a big circle inside. When you do that and you draw 2 circles here, now you know how to draw a face. Ta-da! Now you have all the features in the right place to draw yourself a face. Yay! So if you want to draw a head from the bottom, let's say that I wanted looking down, I can draw a box looking down, split that in 4, draw 2 circles and a teardrop. And I have myself a face looking down. It's gonna be a lifesaver for you later on when you want to draw characters that are more. Okay, so once you learn how to draw cubes, you split one side into 4 and you draw a teardrop in the middle. You have access to faces and heads from all angles. Okay, any angle you want. You want looking down, split the bottom. Cool, right? You want one looking more up, just draw the first face looking up so you can draw your 2 circles and a teardrop, and then draw the side. You're gonna be able to draw faces in any direction. Rodgon Academy is going to be launching its next course next month. So we have our next big release next month. So we're going to have the 3 courses. We're going to have our fundamentals, we're going to have our advanced character design, and then we're going to have our storyteller's guidebook. This one's the one that teaches you how to put all your cool art and all your fundamentals into books so that you can make things like portfolios or actual printed books. Like I'll show you how to self-publish and how to create print-ready files and artwork. That's going to be how you're going to finish your trifecta of my knowledge. Eventually, if you learn how to do this 2 circles in a teardrop situation, right? All you need to do is find this line. Once you find this line that connects the front and the side, you draw 2 circles and one that connects with a teardrop, and you're gonna have access to drawing faces in any direction. 2 circles in a side circle and a teardrop. And you're gonna have the ability to draw those guidelines in any direction you want. So little by little, you're gonna guide your head by learning how to do that, and different variations will give you different characters. So when you need to draw big characters, or you need to draw little characters. You sound like Giancarlo Esposito. That sounds like a funny name. San Carlos Esposito. To the principal's office, Mr. Esposito. Nice characters, brah. Thanks, brah. I work hard on them, brah. Oh, I need a hippie. Some dreadlocks. Maybe a beanie. We're cool, brah. Let's keep drawing, brah. Let's keep drawing. You've watched Breaking Bad, right? Yeah, I look like the guy from it. Like, here, I'll give you guys a face reveal. Ah! That's my face. You'll see it in my sketchbooks all the time. So I look like the main guy from Breaking Bad, but I sound like Gus. I much more resemble the main dude, though. So I know that the bottom of my ears will always align with my cheekbones. So the bottom of my ears is going to indicate where those 2 circles touch the bottom. The side of my head will indicate the side circles. And then I draw a teardrop to draw the rest of the face. Being able to do it like this facilitates a couple things. It makes it so that you don't have to think of a specific formula to make your characters. You can just change these to anything you want. If I change the shapes of them to anything, because I like doing character design, I can do any variation of character I ever want. You want superheroes, you want big muscly dudes, you do more bigger mouths. If you want more kids, you go with smaller shapes. Right? It makes it look like it has bigger eyes. So if you want smaller characters, you draw smaller shapes. You want bigger characters, you have bigger shapes. And that is going to be consistently the easiest formula that you have to be able to know where your features are going to go. Or at least I have never found a person that explains it as good as me. So like you can learn this from a circle, you can learn this from a box, you can learn this from any shape that you're comfortable drawing, because it's just a math equation. It's a simple math equation. You can add it to anything. 2 circles and a teardrop to a circle gives you a skull. 2 circles and a teardrop added to a box gives you a skull. No, not today. I came to play pool, pay taxes stuff. By the way, don't leave your taxes to the next year or years later. You end up getting charged a lot. So don't do that. I did that because I fell into depression and I didn't know what to do for a while. So I allowed myself to fall behind on my taxes. And unfortunately, that came at a cost of several $1,000s. Hey Rod, can you show how this works for feminine forms? Yeah. Well, humans, women and men, don't really have much differentiation except for the way that we tend to accentuate different features. If we have an eye socket, a teardrop, and a side circle, we can use that for an eyebrow, an eye, and then the features inside can be rough or they can be soft. If you want soft features, you focus on less lines, less volume, and you can even give them like eyelashes and stuff by just thickening a line. If you do 2 crisscross lines like this and you darken one of them, you get the eye. It's a very simple illusion. Incredibly simple illusion. So you have an eye socket, you have your eyebrow line, and you get to choose a little line and an overlapping line. Choose one thicker, and now you have yourself an eyeball. Okay? Choosing male and female features tend to be in just a form of drawing features a little bit more rugged, maybe a bigger jawline, less makeup. So when you look at one, it'll look like a girl. You look at the other, it's going to look more like a dude. So the more that you add those little features, softer ears, softer jaws, right? And supposed to more structured, more jagged, you start seeing the difference a little bit more. But for women's shapes, I like to keep the teardrop a little small and the eyes relatively big. And that way you can make things like Disney princesses and stuff, because you have a big space for your eyes. Really big space for your eyes, so you can make the eyes really cool and like the main focus of things. And then you already have the side of your head. So you just connect your ear to your chin. That's it. You don't even draw an L or nothing. There's just a little connection. So it's easier because you don't have to come up with shit. You don't have to imagine something. You don't have to imagine like an imaginary line of, and you want the whole like concept of the Loomis lines and stuff like that. It's just the ear to the cheekbone to the side of the chin. So let's see, let's draw a cute girl. Eye socket, eye socket. Curvy line, thicker line, thinner line. Curvy line, thicker line, thinner line. Eyebrow around my eye socket. My eye socket aligns with the side of my head. I already drew the shape of my head, so the teardrop happens between the 2 circles. That's the space for my mouth, and it gives me my chin. Connect my chin to my ear. And then you can draw your necks, your hair, do whatever you want to them. Right? Choose your style for inside. What is it that you like to draw? And it becomes a really simple concept to start with, where you know that I'm not going to draw you. Who does that? Who does that? Who goes into a live stream and goes, hey, can you draw me? You don't even have an image of a person, dude. You don't even have an image of a person on your thing. Do you? I don't know. I can't see. They're tiny. So no, I will not draw you. A lot of people do draw their followers, but when their followers have a little tiny icon that is this size, and I have to actually do that instead of giving a lesson to other hundreds of people, that is not going to happen. It's like the equivalent of a person going up to a concert and being like, oh my God, you should play that song for me. That song, no, that song, not what you're playing, not what you're drawing. No, I want you to play this other song. You see what I mean? It's not necessarily gonna be looked upon like that. It's gonna be looked upon with annoyance rather than with admiration, because that's just not how it works. So don't do that. Can you show how to draw anime style eyes? Yeah. Let's do it. So if we know that eyes in general are two curvy lines, a thick one, a thin one, and two circles inside. Okay? One circle for your coloredy part, one black circle for your blacky part, one thick line, and one thin line. So that's the formula right here. Right? So as long as you have all those three things, you can draw an eye. Okay? So let's say that you have a curvy line. You draw an intersecting curvy line, but a little thinner. We're going to draw two shapes inside. Forget the highlight for now. Two shapes for now. One circle, two circles. That looks like an eye already. So how do we make this look more cool like anime stuff? Well, you're going to add thickness to that upper eyeline. We're going to give it eyelids. And we're going to give it lower eyelids. Then we're going to change the shape. We're not going to draw them curvy anymore. Since we know the rule now, we can break the rule. So now we can draw them in any shape we want. And as long as we make this line thicker, I can create any style that I want. The trick is understanding so that you can put your own creative spin on things. A thick line and a thin line and two circles can give you every illusion you need. Now, the highlights and the amount of detail that you put into them and the colors and all that's going to play more of a bigger role into that. But a thick line intersected by a thin line and two shapes for your eyes can be all you need if you really wanted to just learn. So that is what happens when you're drawing characters with more anime styling. You want to go with two curvy lines, thicken one, and then choose the shapes inside. Depending on whatever anime style you're trying to achieve, there's a bunch of them, right? You can do that. I'm struggling to know where to place like the ear or arm. Oh, well, you got to practice this. It's a very simple concept. Draw a circle. Okay? You're going to draw a circle inside that touches both the top and the bottom. Now you have a front and you have a back. So if you draw a line from one point here to one point here, you're going to see through your shape. Your ear would fall here, your ear would fall here. Okay? So as we go about learning how to draw our ears in different positions, we have to learn how to draw through our shapes so that whenever we're drawing, we know exactly where the other body parts are going to be. So whenever you're drawing things like arms and legs and stuff like that, you have to learn your shape so that you know where the back part is. If you know where the front is, the other side is directly next to it. Okay? So that's where cylinders and cones and all that stuff come into play. But if you don't learn to draw through your shape, it just becomes really hard. You have to learn to draw through your shape. So draw circles, draw boxes and cubes and stuff, and then learn to draw through it. So you can find a front and a back. Front, back. Connect them. One side, the other side. Connect them. Okay? People skip these exercises and then they wonder why they don't know. That's why I'm putting together a whole book. I'm putting together a book on this stuff. I am making a whole book on it so I can help everyone. I am making a how to draw book. And it's on page 80 so far. So we are in the eye section. So 2 overlapping lines can give the illusion of an eye. Okay? So a lot of different illusions can happen by just overlapping 2 lines. Very simple shapes. Very, very cool effects. Okay? So that is something that I've been working on heavily because I want to release it this year. Hey, Gibby, how's it going? Gibby gets a dinosaur, right? I think Gibby likes dinosaurs. So let's draw a dinosaur for Gibby. Well, like what other mods do we have here today? We had Lou a little earlier, so Lou gets a slug. Who else did we have here today? Hi everyone, if you like what you... Lilu gets a platypus. I still gotta make the platypus god t-shirts. We gotta push our agenda in the cult department. Big head platypus. But yeah, like you'd be surprised. Like once you understand the concept of a thick and a thin line, the concept of eyes becomes really easy. It becomes incredibly simple. And it's mostly because of the illusion that happens. It's not because of the anatomy, but you're also learning anatomy. Because eyes are 3 circles and 2 eyelids. So the illusion comes from that. Once you learn to draw both concepts, drawing the lines in different directions becomes easy. And then you can learn to draw your eyes in different directions. Right? Oftentimes, it's a lot easier than we make it out to be. It's just taught in a very difficult way most of the time. Right? Understanding how to draw your shapes doesn't have to be as difficult. Drawing them in perspective doesn't have to be difficult. All you gotta do is learn to understand what you're doing and how to control the things like your lines. I swear I want to be a mod. You want to be a mod? All right, let's make you a mod. I think I've seen you here a couple times. Let's see your mod. Let's give you mod powers. All right, there you go. Thank you for being here constantly. I do see you once in a while. Is your art philosophy just the simplest way to make forms? No, my art philosophy is do it because it's fun. My art philosophy is a little different than my teaching philosophy. Like, my art philosophy is, if I'm not doing something and I'm not enjoying it, I don't do it. Right? It's all about my ego. Everything has to be about what I want, because I'm the one creating the artwork. I'm the one that's creating everything in front of me. No one else is grabbing my hand and doing this. So being able to draw simple, hard, complicated, difficult, it doesn't matter to me. To me, it's about understanding. If I understand something, then I can explain it to thousands of others. So I'm not looking for my own personal gain. I'm normally just learning these things so that I can help others. Not because I need to learn it more, but because I can help others. I can help. I've helped millions so far. Millions of artists. Right? And knowing more and more about how to approach that so that I can teach people at every level, not just in simple terms, but actually show you how you can take those concepts and take them into much more complicated things. And then once you learn that, learning how to make variations of them so that you can make every single type of character you ever want. Right? So that you can make variations and characters that are fun and engaging, regardless of the positions or the shapes that you choose. Once you understand the rules and the basics, you can draw anything you want with them. So poses, angles, scale, doesn't matter. It becomes really easy to understand where things are supposed to go. And it doesn't matter what level of detail you want. Again, my way of structuring anatomy and everything is based on both the way that anatomy that I present myself. Yeah, I'm not drawing these guidelines because I need them. I don't draw guidelines anymore. Whenever I'm looking and drawing, I don't draw guidelines anymore. I just draw. Right? To me, I don't require those guidelines. I've drawn this so much and spaced them out so frequently that I don't really require them to be able to know where things go. It's really nice to be able to just play around with lines and stuff like that and create things. But a lot of the times, it's not very convenient for me as a teacher to do that, because I don't really need to show off to you. My goal is not to make you look at me and be like, oh my God, he draws so cool. My goal is to have you be like, oh shit, I can do that now. He taught me how to draw a thick line and a thin line, and now I have eyes. And I can draw eyes in any shape and form I want as long as I control those lines. Those two lines will control everything that I do with eyes. Right? Understanding leads to creativity. And once you understand something, you can add your own spin to it. So you can add your own styles, you can add your own things once you understand how something works. But if you don't understand how something works, you're just going to copy it. And if you're just copying someone, you have a very limited range of what you can do. But if you're not, if you're just drawing because you like what you're doing and you understand it and you see it as a career, not just like a hobby, you're going to want to understand more of it. And it becomes almost like a mathematical equation at some point. Right? Once you understand the math equations, all you got to do is practice the math equations enough, and you end up in the same situation over and over. So, the way that I teach a lot of things is understanding the basic flow of your face, your skull. Your anatomy connects to each other very easily. Right? Every body part connects to another. That's how our bodies work. And when we learn how those connections work, we can be creative. Okay? Once we know how everything works, we can change them to whatever sizes and shapes that we want to create the more cool designs that we want to do. But we start with basic structure and basic positioning before we go into anything more creative. Would you say art is just about making your own map? No, there's a bunch of different roadmaps to art, right? You can see it as a way to work. You can see it as a way to push your own limits. You can see it as a way to do all that stuff. Some people just do it as a job. Some people don't even like doing art, but they're good at it. And so they're in the art world, but they don't like doing it. They would take another job in an instant, right? A lot of the times, it's just depending on you. Like, what is it that you want out of it? Right? What do you want to get out of your career? Do you want to be known? Do you want to be seen? Don't work for a studio. If you want to be just able to do art every single day, hey, working for a studio might help you, but you might not be able to do your own art. Now, if you just want to push your own thing, do not work for others. Your creativity is like a limited, like you have like a well of creativity, right? Imagine you have a little dude and you have a certain amount of creativity every day. And that creativity can be very strong, very dull, whatever. Just imagine that it's a finite amount of creativity. And that creativity, if you work doing creative work, takes up a ton of your creativity. You're left over with the bottom of the barrel. And if you don't use that bottom of the barrel to store towards your own future, right, with personal projects, personal things that you work on, your own stories, your own books, your own separate income from your job that takes away all of it, well, if you don't do that, eventually that job is going to let you go because you get too expensive. You essentially, the more creative you are and the better you are at your job and the more years you're there, the more you work out yourself out of your own job. Because creativity to companies is a very much not a, oh my God, it's absolutely necessary. It's a, oh my God, how can we get away with paying as little as we need? So you don't feed your own creative skills, your own creative freedom, your creative ways of doing, and you work constantly for somebody else. Eventually, all this just got wasted, evaporated into nothing. Right? All that possible effort that you could have had in reserves in case something doesn't work out with your job goes away. You never put anything into it. And then you are dependent on either going in survival mode, aka a non-art job, or you're going to go into anything that is coming your way and you won't have choice because you'll just be desperate to get another job. So you have to understand the pros and the cons of everything. Everything comes with a benefit and a drawback. And you have to just think, what do I want for my career? Because whatever you do decide that you want for your career, that's what you should push 1,000%. 1,000,000%. Higher numbers if you can. Brando! Yeah, today you guys got me in the car. I'm about to go play pool in a couple minutes. But I wanted to stream a little bit today still. So let's do a cheetah for Brando. We got to get better at drawing cheetahs though. I have to go and do some reference to see what cheetahs look like. Whiskers. Yeah, I gotta look up like some cheetahs. I end up drawing them like little bears. And Wham Bam Boom, how you doing? How you guys doing? Are you feeling better? Nah, I'm still feeling pretty shit. Can you repeat what you said about art jobs? Yeah, yeah. Whenever you're working for someone else, let's see. Whenever your creativity, right? Your creativity every day, 24-hour creativity levels. If you work for a person that you do art jobs for, or you have people or just doing work for yourself. When you do work for other people, at the end of the day, you're gonna spend about 2/3 of most of your creative energy on someone else. When you're doing it for yourself, you have all of it, right? But you don't get the constant paycheck. So the money here is the big catalyst. This replaces your creativity time for money. In this case, you have to generate money with your creativity. So that becomes a very different way of accessing income. Right? This way, yes, you're left over with a little creativity, so you can maybe, if you have a stable job, you can work on your stuff little by little, but only if you are constantly working on it. This way, you're kind of subjected to forcing yourself to jump into work. Like you're not waiting for something or a special time or anything, you're just doing it. And a lot of the times, just doing it gets you the experience that you really need to fulfill more and more and more. You get much better because you're constantly 100% in it. This person will get better progressively if they work constantly on their own stuff outside of their creative efforts that they do for their work. But if you're 100% in, you're always getting better because you're always improving because you're constantly in the art world. Like I draw like 10 hours a day now, and my drawings are insanely better than they were a millionfold over even a year ago. Right? It's crazy that now I can pose a character in any position just because I focused on my fundamentals for a little bit. Right? So it's just kind of like interesting to see. But this is something that you have to keep in mind when you're going into a career. This is harder. Going 100% in is much, much harder. This is most of the time where people go in, but if they don't focus on themselves, they don't end up getting far. They end up getting laid off after a while, and then they have to do this with zero experience. So don't be that person. Learn from people that have been there before you, like me. Okay? Okay. Circle, circle, line, teardrop, and a big circle. Gives me access to a skull. Mustache. Some glasses. And an eyebrows. And then you have me. You've watched my live for over 300 minutes. I haven't been on too long, have I? Or is it just saying like total? Dude, that's badass, man. Have you learned? What have you learned so far? If I'm a good teacher, you must have learned something. Mustache might need more toys. He might. He's still a spoiled little boy. So I don't know if he needs many more toys, but I have to go get him like a new crocodile at least, because he destroyed his crocodile. He does not like reptiles. Oh, no, Lou, no. You don't have to send me any. I saw some on sale over in PetSmart the other week, so I might pick him up one over there. You don't need to send me one. I appreciate you, though. You're the best, dude. I swear to God. You're like the nicest person ever. The breakdown of the face and body. So we can do one or the other, because I'm going to be here for another 10 minutes. So I'm going to be here for another 10 minutes, so you get one of the two. You get either face or you get body. How would you bend the... Oh my God. You and your family follow me? That's so interesting. How would you bend the leg in a proportion to the rib cage. Okay, so if you have your rib cage, it's a little egg. Draw a little compass at the top so it's your collarbone and your head. Then, like an exclamation mark, you're going to draw a little fly or a little circle. So it's going to be a fat exclamation mark. And you're going to draw little flies, like little wings. Whee! You're going to connect the rib cage to the bottom circle. And you're going to connect the sides to the sides. This is going to give you little circles. Follow the side. Just follow the side. Whee! So now you have yourself legs. If you wanted to bend them, you have to find your kneecap and just bend the front line and then allow for overlapping shapes. The pop, you go outside into your elbow, and then you go back in for your body. And then you can choose the direction of the lower arm if you want to. You can do it in any direction you want. So the compass points to where the arm should be, and then you go back in for volume. So an egg, a circle, and a fly, a compass, and we connect the circle to the little circle and the outside to the outside. The amount of anatomy that you choose to draw into these is going to be dependent on your knowledge of muscles. But you don't have to draw outside of these cones that you draw. You carve the muscles out of them. Okay, so whatever shape you choose, whatever level of detail that you want to draw, it's going to be inside of here. So you don't ever draw outside of your guideline. You never draw outside of your guideline. You don't need to. You do not need to draw outside of your guideline. So if you drew your guideline and the guideline looks nice, guess what? All the muscles fit inside there. You just need to learn how to do that. You need to learn how the overlapping shapes work. But you don't have to change the guideline. You don't have to draw your arm and then draw muscles on top like this. You don't need to do that. That messes people up so much. Same thing with legs. You don't need to do that. Once you have a leg, carve out your muscles. Top part, second part. Okay? Stop complicating it. You don't need to complicate it if you have simple shapes. Yeah, the knee can go as high as here. So if you bring your leg up, it's going to be around there. And it always connects back to that circle. That looks easy, right? Because it is. Once you have your fly, just remember, flies attract legs. Flies attract legs. And if you can learn to draw that little fly shape, you have the connecting point for your legs. So whatever shape and form you draw them in, they always connect back there. It's like a hub. So you can draw them in any direction you want, any sort of style you want, and it's going to look cool. I have improved so much by watching and following your methods. Yes. Yes. And that works for any style. If you like chibi characters, or if you like complicated, detailed characters with a lot of anatomy. It's the same thing. Okay? It's exactly the same thing. So you can learn to draw in the same way for all of your anatomy and all your character types and everything that you want, and you never have to go into a different type of learning. I think I need to learn something from you. Well, you can learn a lot from it. I am the Rodgon. But my friends, today I think we are done. I gotta go play some pool. So looking forward to putting this book together. Finishing this book will be this will be my life's work put into a single book. Made for artists as a Bible for you to learn maybe where you are missing out and where you could possibly go back into. If you are a person that has already had a career, this is going to help you understand maybe what you've missed out on, maybe what you skipped. And maybe if I'm lucky, I can help people understand exactly where they are in their path and their journey and help you understand how to get you to the next level. My name is Rodgon. I'm an artist, a designer, cartoonist, and I'll see you guys next time for another stream, another lesson, and maybe a song or two. Later, getters. Take care.